So I also wrote a Ruby XMPP library called Blather, and I called it simpler XMPP because there's Java simple that's supposed to make XMPP for R really simple, but it's still pretty complex. So it's basically a DSL and I guess stanza to object mapper, and it requires libxml and event machine, so it should be really fast. And here's sort of what the DSL looks like. So you're just basically requiring the library. It's Blather client, so that if you wanted to, you could just include Blather and you would just have the parser and the stream handler and write your own DSL on top of that. But if you include Blather client, you get the DSL for free. So then the DSL basically looks like this. It's just a bunch of event handlers. So when the connection's all set up and ready to go, it's just going to print connected to whatever JID to the console. And then after that, you just have a bunch of handlers. So subscription message handlers, pub sub handlers, et cetera, et cetera. And so these are the handlers. Handlers handle stanzas. Stanzas are hierarchical, right? So you could actually write a handler for IQ stanzas, and the IQ handler will catch disco, roster, query, pub sub. Same thing with presence and message. It'll basically bubble up as if it were the DOM. And then this is the sort of added on piece, is these little guards. I sort of borrowed Erlang. So the subscription handler will look to see that the subscription stanza that's coming in is a request stanza and handle that. Everything else will just be ignored. The second one is message. Will check for a chat stanza and make sure that the body has exit in it, or actually is only exit, and then exit the bot essentially. And then the last one looks to see that it's a chat stanza and that it has a body, so that it won't handle like a pub sub event stanza. Everything else will just sort of fall through. So it's meant to look sort of like a pretty simple functional language. And here, these are the types of guards. So just a regular symbol, basically it calls that on the stanza object, and if it returns anything not false or not nil, it handles it. Hash with value, it just runs an equality. Hash with regex just checks for regex within the, like for example, within the body. Lambdas, so that you can do really complex guards if you wanted to. And then, so you can chain guards together, and when you do that, they all act as ands. So like in the previous example, the last one is looking for chat and a body. But if you want ors, you can put everything inside of an array, and then you get or. And that's basically what it is. It sort of started off as just a side project, just to, like, you know, because I wanted to play with XMPP. So this is a really basic echo server. You don't see any JIDs or passwords because it handles that from the command line. Or you could do something really simple like setup echo at jabber.local, and that's the password. And then now you just have to run the file, and it sets it all up and starts handling everything. You can also add like a host name or and a port. I just recently added support for components, so if you wanted to do a component, it would look like that. Makes it fairly simple. And then my most recent thing is to start working on pub sub. So this is sort of the way that I tend to write DSLs, is that I write the DSL itself and then try and make it work. So this is what I imagine what a ping pong pub sub bot would look like. So it's handling pub sub events from the ping node, taking the payload from that and then publishing it to the pong node. And then this one will handle events from the pong node, take the payload, reduce it by 1, and send it back to the ping node. And then when it's ready, it starts the whole ping pong process. I haven't got it working yet, but that's what I'm working on now. Any questions?
If you take off the node portion of the JIT in order to do a component connection, how do you support SASL Anonymous?
Sorry?
How do you support SASL Anonymous?
I don't know. I haven't looked into that, actually. I'll take a look at it.
Because we, in Stroke, we take off the node portion to signify that you're doing a SASL Anonymous connection. Of course, there's no reason to do component connection from JavaScript, but it would be nice if everyone sort of agreed on a way to do that, so we don't have different libraries doing different things.
In fact, yeah, I hadn't actually noticed that. So yeah, why don't we figure some out?
Like,
what?
I was going to say maybe we can do @ just nothing and then @ domain for SASL Anonymous or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Give me a node.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else? Cool. Thanks. It's on GitHub, by the way, so you can just search for Blather.
So I'm just gonna finish my demo, and then I'm done.
I think you might do a really simple box.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
I wanted a really simple way of playing with XMPP.
Right.
And everything else out there seemed pretty
This is a simple text command bot you can throw together real fast.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Or hell, make it complicated if you want.
so
You could definitely get complicated.
I don't know if you know, guys, what postbin is. Basically, it allows you to debug webhooks. It gives you a URL, and if you send post requests to URL, it will actually post the thing. So just show you the test. So as you see, it posted the last line, the foobar stuff at the top. So basically, what I'm going to do is send post requests to the same URL from my XMPP, from Gtalk. So I've encoded the URL. As you see, it's pretty weird. So it's HTTP. Whatever it's called, /3a, blah, 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 which is the encoded URL. And now if I send messaging, if I say, for example, hello world, oh, I forgot to start the thing. I have to start the component first. So it starts, so now it's connected. So if I send hello world, you've seen in the back that the component actually received information from me and then sent the request to postbin. So if we reload, sorry, you see the hello world from me here. And then you see that the content of the page, it's just 302 moved. It's just what they send when you post stuff, but basically it was sent back to the XMPP thing. So you could really interact like this, and basically any web page that supports post, which is a lot of web pages on the web, you can send actually requests through from an HTTP client, XMPP client, sorry. So anybody else want to present something or anything, or just say hello? So we didn't find any sponsor for the pizza, so we maybe thought that we could basically all gather together. I don't know if you can say this in English, but in a restaurant around here and share a dinner all together. So you guys are welcome if you want to come. I just want to thank again Smick for letting us do this here. It's pretty nice, so you should enjoy the view first. And well, I hope to see you guys next time, presenting or telling stuff, or yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'd like to throw an idea out for next time. Maybe like, so we're just kind of getting into using it at TalkBox for our work, and we don't have really good development processes or like debugging techniques or anything above. So I'd love to know how people are actually building out the tests, if there's unit testing or if there's development processes or tricks that people are using to make it easier.
Definitely, yeah.
We actually wrote a bunch of unit testing code specifically for, we wrote it in twisted Python, but you can use it for any component. And we've been meaning to release that and write it up, so I'll try to get that done.
Is it just unit testing?
It would be, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Does it work for like integration testing, like for a whole component, and you write a scenario and then it runs it and check that everything is fine?
The way we use it is we just send, it a stanza, and then it sends responses back, and we have some code in Python that, you can write tests like, make sure I have 5 results, and then you can write XPath expressions, like make sure they match this. We have tons of that.
Because if you guys, I don't know if you guys know Cucumber for Rails, for Ruby, and then for Rails application. No, well, I would love to see something like this for XMPP. But if you don't know what it is, then it's basically you describe in plain English what you expect to see on the website and what is a scenario that the user might do. So you might say like a user registers, and then the page should contain a title, which is that, a paragraph, which is subscription successful, whatever. And you just describe this in English, and then you run the thing, and it's the whole DSL that will basically, from the specification that you wrote in English, execute a story, that's how it's called, and then compare the results of between what you specified and what you've actually, outputted from the script. So it would be just wonderful to see something like an XMPP. I send a message to this JID, and here is the response that I get, or I send a message with a stanza, an IQ stanza with this attribute and that node inside, and here is what I should get. And even then you can do like something much more complex than with I send a stanza to this guy, and he replies that, and I reply this, and he replies that, and in the end I get this. And would just make it wonderful to do some testing, because you can reproduce this over time and just run it and see if everything is fine along the line. Because sometimes it's very difficult to test like the 5th message that you send, because everything might break before you actually send something.